Welcome back. Namibia continues to position itself as a key player in the global transition to cleaner energy and sustainable industrial development. The government, through the Namibia Green Hydrogen Programme, is advancing efforts to support green industrialisation and reduce carbon emissions in sectors that are traditionally difficult to decarbonise. Following a call for project proposals aimed at unlocking up to $250 million in concessional financing through the Climate Investment Fund's Industrial Decarbonisation Programme, stakeholders will gather in Windhoek for the first Namibia Industrial Decarbonisation Workshop. Now, to tell us more, we're joined by Jona Musheko, Manager for External Affairs and Communications at the Namibia Green Hydrogen Programme. Jona, good evening and thank you for being here.
Yes, good evening to you and the viewers. Thank you for having me.
Well, just to start with, and I know that we've spoken about this when you've been here previously, but again, just explain to us the purpose of the Namibia Industrial Decarbonisation initiative, and just take us back to how it all began and the importance thereof.
Thank you so much. I think it's good that we are looking back a bit just so we get everyone to be on par. Last year, we sent out calls for project proposals. They closed this year in Feb, 1st of Feb. We received quite a number of applicants, and these applications we were looking for, projects that are ideas that are looking at how do we decarbonize different, value chains in Namibian industries. How do we come up with new, things that we can add value to, but in a cleaner manner. And these ideas now, they obviously need to be financed. But this financing usually it's quite complicated because it's a lot of money that's required. And currently, if you look at the sources of this, financing locally, it should be banks, commercial banks, or either our, Development Bank of Namibia. But not really everyone qualifies through these processes. They based depending on the, qualifications and requirements. So this idea that we are now putting together, we are looking at the money that we have mobilized and qualify for as a country, which is, as you mentioned, up to 250 million US dollars, which could actually multiply based on the project that we submit. It will be concessional financing, which is cheap capital. Cheap in the sense that when you are borrowing money for anything that you want to do as a business, you must be able to pay it back with interest. What makes this one quite interesting and affordable is the interest that is applicable on that. So it will be very cheap to to these applicants to be able to be financed with this kind of initiative. And obviously, in totality, we are looking at all the ideas. They should be able to decarbonize any process, whether it's in existing industries or in new industries. We have a lot that is happening in Namibia in terms of our minerals and any other things that we are doing in Namibia. If you look at recent news on the Trans-Namib potential to decarbonize their rails or locomotives, it's such kind of ideas we are looking for in transportation, in mineral processing. And we have gotten about 150 of those ideas, and we are filtering through to see which ones can we fund to move on to the next place, to the next position. So this week now we will be then meeting to first of all to give them the background on this idea, but most importantly to explain the processes and the criteria we've used to do the shortlisting, as well as the next step in terms of financing, because this is not something that will happen after 5 years. It's something that will happen, this financing should be unlocked by next year. There is a timeline that we need them to understand. So everybody that applied, they've been invited so that they come to this workshop or attend this workshop, because it will be virtual. And this is a culture we want to adopt moving forward, that you don't just apply and you only see people that are successful. You apply, we invite you, we tell you where you have not done properly, and then we help you to improve on the next submissions, because we are thinking of having this more like a rollover to more financing that will come in the future from the same kind of initiatives.
Great. We'll get back to circle back to the workshop in just a bit, but the program speaks about, supporting hard to abate industry. So can you just explain what that means and which sectors in Namibia fall into that category?
So basically, I think you've mentioned this in your introduction, hard-to-abate industries. These are sectors or industries that are really hard to decarbonize. Decarbonize literally means to reduce the carbon emission in the processing of whether it's minerals, if you are processing lithium. Processing usually requires high temperature processing, which is you need electricity, or you need furnaces that need to be heat up to sometimes 1,000 degrees Celsius. And that process of heating up these type of technologies require or actually emit carbon. And that's the carbon we are trying to reduce. Namibia is not really a high carbon emitter. We are actually a carbon sink, if you can put it that way. But moving on from just a small industries kind of economy, we want to be able to industrialize, but in a less manner where we are not really emitting carbon. So that is the target, really what we are trying to do, not to introduce high emitting industries, but to introduce new ones. And those that are existing, for instance, like cement, we must be able to find a way to reduce carbon emission.
Back to the workshop that will bring together international partners as well as financial institutions, Jona. What role do these partners play really in helping Namibia unlock climate finance and implement these projects?
Well, we have different partners, and some of them we are looking at the World Bank, Africa Development Bank, International Finance Corporation, and obviously CIF themselves, which is Climate Investment Fund. They will be helping us with, coming up with the proper structures on how we can do the selection process, and also help Namibia to come up with, a proper, sectoral transformation pipeline that is acceptable not just at the continental level, but also internationally, that we can use to mobilize more financing. And these partners will also be able to guide Namibia and the developers that have applied and that we will be eventually shortlisting to be able to fully conform to what they have to finance. Because what is going to happen is that CIF will make available the amount of 250 million Namibian dollars, US dollars, and that will be channeled through some of these partners, the multilateral development banks. And when it runs through these banks, it will not come through as it is. It will multiply. So they also have to invest their own money. But for them to invest their own money, this project must also be able to align to the type of project that they are eventually, usually, co-finance or finance. So that is their role there, to make sure that what we are producing here in Namibia in terms of the pipeline we are putting together also conforms to international standards and to the standards of things or projects they usually have to, finance.
Well, as we round up our discussion, what are the outcomes that you hope to see with this two-day workshop?
I think the first thing is really to have that understanding among all the applicants and those that obviously that are watching, because we know not everybody could apply, but we have people that have keen interest in what we are doing. So, but the very first thing is to make sure that the developers and the applicants understand the process. From where we started, where we are, and where we are going to, by when should this money start to flow in. And secondly is to make sure that we strengthen our pipeline. That is now the document we're putting together. Eventually, we have to present this at the CIF Trust Fund for approval or for input or for rejection. You never know. And that will happen somewhere around October. So this pipeline must be able to be strong, and it can only be strong based on the, project ideas that we have received and how we help these developers to polish up these ideas so that we can submit a strong pipeline that will be able to really capture a lot of money. Because remember, like I said, 250 million US dollars is the maximum we can get. But if we submit projects that qualify for 150 million US dollars, that's what they will give us, because we did not submit something that is bigger. So we want to be able to capture maximum amount of money so that we really bring this back. And this will obviously link to infrastructure development at the national level without necessarily putting pressure on the government's balance sheet. which is, as we speak, if you look at our national budget, it won't be able to accommodate all these type of initiatives. But with this type of funding that is coming through, we'll be able to lean towards that so that we can support infrastructure development as it's, as we have seen it in the NDP6 plan. Looking forward to having that manifested.
Ms. Musheko, always lovely having you here with us. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to take a brief break.